I am a Scott Adams was right American. Now, you might be familiar with Coffee with Scott Adams. It's a particular show on YouTube, formerly Periscope, Twitter, now called X, where Scott would, and still does to this day, he's on a new medication. It sounds like that seems to be helping him, given more than just weeks, but months, ideally, years. In any case, our man Scott has over the years taught us how to think not in terms of black and white, yes and no, but if you're really familiar with the book, God's Debris, The Complete Works, check out who helped him with that third installment of the series, by the way. The third installment of God's Debris, The Complete Works. Check it out on Amazon. He taught us how to think in terms of probabilities, risk assessment. Remember, he used to work with the banking system and loans and whether or not someone would be likely or unlikely. Not, yes, you're going to pay this back guaranteed, or no, you're not. That's how he learned how to think. Powerful addition to your talent stack. Thinking in terms of probabilities. Like, what are the odds of this? Okay, 30% chance. Okay, and then how do you adjust behavior accordingly? What must be adjusted? And he also points out in, right there on the shelf, reframe your brain, that people are generally bad at assessing risk. Because what often will look risky will become low risk because everyone treats it like it's high risk. But that which is not obviously risky, people blunder into and get hurt. And therefore it becomes high risk. So think about that. If it looks low risk, most people will treat it like it, therefore it becomes high risk. If something looks high risk, most people will treat it like it is, and therefore it becomes low risk. This is like, oh, but I'm wearing a motorcycle helmet versus airplanes. Generally, people who get on passenger airplanes, because of all of the high-profile crashes, hijackings, etc., it is generally thought of as a high-risk scenario, and it's not. But just wear a helmet and obey all the traffic safety laws. You'll be okay. Make it low risk to be a motorcyclist. Even so, look up the rates of fatalities from motorcyclists who are wearing all the protective gear necessary. Wow. Okay, this is something I would like you to incorporate into your thinking in terms of what's going to happen, what's going to cause your behavior to change. Think about what you want. Maybe you'd like to lose 20 pounds, let's say. Most people do. Okay. If you continue to do what you're doing right now with your fitness, your health, the time you wake up, what you do at night, how often you work out, how often you go on walks, etc., what is the probability you're going to lose 20 pounds with nothing changing? Oh, wow, it becomes close to zero. Exactly. What would cause you losing 20 pounds to become a 20% chance? Maybe it's you go on a 15-minute walk after dinner every single night. Think about it. What if it was getting up half an hour early or 15 minutes early and doing something simple like burpees, for example, jumping jacks, 25 push-ups every morning? Maybe that's a 10% chance. But what happens if you do both? The after dinner walk and get up half an hour early. Maybe the odds of you losing 20 pounds becomes 90%. Why would it? Because you're doing two things to invest in your health. You're making these incremental efforts, incremental changes, which changes your identity. Isn't that interesting? And you realize, I'm someone who takes care of myself. I go on walks every night after dinner for 15 minutes, and I get up half an hour early to do jumping jacks, 25 push-ups, and burpees. I think I can cut out gluten. That'll be easy. And then you make the next change, cut out sugar. You make the next change, which is make protein, good animal protein like meat, okay? Some specific kinds of cheeses. The focus of every single meal you have. And pretty soon it becomes 95% and then 100% you've lost 20 pounds in 4 months or less. Wow. That's how to think in terms of probability stacking. But it starts with, what are the odds of this changing? And ironically, it was Scott Adams who convinced me personally not to get the thing everyone claims Scott was persuading people to try to get. This is 2020, 2021, okay? Don't want to run afoul of the thought police over here, so you know what I'm talking about. It was talking about personal risk profiles. This is what Scott Adams was doing. He was laying out what was known, what was unknown, what was likely, what was unlikely. And the idea of personal risk profiles. If you're in the otherwise high mortality range, are there things you can do to take yourself out of that? Well, this could be one of them, he pointed out. If you're not in the high mortality range, then the potential consequences and side effects of getting the thing means that you are setting yourself for potentially worse if you get it than if you just get the thing that they're claiming you wouldn't get if you got the other thing. Okay? Personal risk profiles. Completely new way to think. Transformative. So I didn't get it. I didn't get it. So I did not do the thing everyone claimed Scott was telling everyone to do. My goodness, what a world. What a world. What a world. This will also give you credibility, by the way. Immense credibility. When everyone else is saying, gonna happen, not gonna happen, I think it will, I think it won't, my goal is X, I really want to be able to Y, and you're over here saying, I think there's a 30% chance that's going to happen, but if we do this, it pushes it probably over 50%. Here's why I think that. You immediately become the authority, the subject matter expert. By the way, I heed my own advice. Do you remember in this book right here, On Humans, The Secret History of Communist Revolutions? In chapter 12, after laying out our case that we believe that there's a 250-year plus pattern of far left-wing uprisings that have blown up across almost every single continent, and we're now experiencing an irregular uprising, a slow walking of revolution through all of our institutions. What are the odds, or perhaps, what are the chances? What's the probability of all this being correct, as we just read it? Would your behavior change? Would you do something different if there's a 10% chance everything we say here is true? That's how I put it. That is persuasive. Because people realize if there's just a 10% chance these guys are right, we are totally redacted. Yeah. Like that. Begin to think this way, and you'll realize what you need to change and what you don't need to change. It very well could be that if you change X, it doesn't reduce or improve the odds of what you want at all. This way you will keep from deceiving yourself. I'm doing something now. But then you realize that doing something does not mean things will now have a 100% chance of changing. Remember the example of the weight loss, the 20 pounds lost goal. I take a 15-minute walk after dinner every night. I'm doing something, therefore it's guaranteed to lose 20 pounds as the outcome I want. Wrong. Maybe it gives a 10 to 15% chance or less, and then you can begin the probability stacking. This is how you can think about it now. Incredible content.